Welcome in, everybody. This is Pro Football Enterprises. That's Austin Freed, and that's Shane Ratliff, and I am Ben Parker, and we are privileged to have all of you on board here tonight. So thank you very much for being a part. Um, we're only covering one prospect on this video. We'll get to him in just a second, but for those of you maybe who are interested in other prospects for the 26 draft or maybe even the 27 watch list, we got more, and this is it right here. This great wall of prospects here. You can see the last three that we covered down there at the bottom with Stowers, Claire, and injuries. But we've got a bunch here. So, you see the name on there. It'll be here somewhere on our draft prospects board. It may be clustered with four or five others from the same position group, right? But it's here somewhere. And we tried to include all of that in the listing. So after this, please go check that out. It is all over the place, covering a lot of prospects. We were passing the 60 mark and moving on. So, guys, let's get right to it. Our prospect for tonight is Mr. Kenyon Sadiq, coming out of Oregon. And give me one second here. He is 6'3", 245. Right in there size wise where a lot of these tight ends have been. Last year, 24 catches, 308 receiving yards, 12.8 yards per catch, and two touchdowns for the Oregon Ducks. Austin, I think I'm going to give you first word and last word on this prospect tonight, so go ahead and lay it out for us, man.
Yeah, he's this guy's your prototypical modern day receiving tight end, slot end, if you want. Instead of tight end, they're a little bit farther out, not tight on the line, in line. They're out there in the slot more often than not. So a slot end is what I'll be calling him, and he's electric to me. He's got a powerful frame, 6'3", 245, but built and very strong, especially strong through contact. Unlike a couple of guys that we've talked about, or maybe even will talk about later, he does not go down at first contact very often. He is elusive and strong, has good mobility and agility in all directions. He's not supremely fast, though, straight line, which is one thing I wish he was. If he had like burner straight line speed, he could be a monster, I think. But I think more average straight line speed, just with really good. I mean, this is all relative to his size, but for his size, really agile and powerful and drives his legs. As a receiver specifically, I think he does a few things well. I think he works towards the ball really well, which is, I think, one of the most important things for someone who's going to be more on the outside. The more outside you are, the longer, generally speaking, the pass is going to take to get to you, the more important it is to kind of work back towards the ball when it's en route to you. And for someone who does a lot of intermediate routes, I saw a lot of intermediate routes for him, works back to the ball incredibly, but that wasn't my favorite way they deployed him. I think when he was most effective was actually in the screen game. I think he is really good in the screen game. Like I talked about with his mobility earlier, really good with the ball in his hand, strong leg, does not get taken down. So a real weapon close to the line of scrimmage. And I've seen a lot of people talk highly about his uh, deep threat, and I don't I don't not see it. He's very fast, and for a tight end, and gets down the field, especially up the seam pretty well. But I don't see like the great deep ball tracking or high pointing of like a wide receiver. He's got that traditional tight end where he's really good in the intermediate. But once you kind of ask him to start getting like 20 yards down the field, it doesn't quite look right. And that's just kind of the way tight ends always have been. Very few guys. I think George Kittle's one to me that's just like he just looks different when he's downfield. For some reason, George Kittle just looks like a receiver when he gets downfield rather than looking like a tight end down there, awkward. So yeah, I really do like this player. Again, though, not necessarily a tight end, a slot end, and I think he could continue to grow. I think he could have a really good season this year and could really boost his draft stock.
All right, I'm going to rattle off my notes. Very good, Austin, and then we'll toss the ball to Shane and get Shane's side of it on things here. So, first of all, he's fast for his size. I like the speed. Austin, you're right. He doesn't have that deep burner speed, but I did like the way he seemed to play fast. So I did like that. The Ducks like to get him the ball on tunnel screens and jet sweeps. The tunnel screens especially. Austin, you mentioned it. Boy, the tunnel screens just choop choop choop. And sometimes he's got four blockers out there, but he just seems to nail it. So a lot of that, a little bit of the jet sweeps, not as much. He's athletic. There is more than one film of him jumping over people. Okay, and it's fun to watch. Okay, to see a guy that size, right, be jumping over people. There's more than one clip of it. So he is athletic. I love the athleticism there. Probably my one drawback on him is the production is low, both in 24 and so far early in 25. It's just low production. In fact, in 24, only 350 total snaps, So I know he was behind Ferguson, but Oregon could have deployed two tight ends. They just opted not to do it. So he just wasn't on the field all that much for a prospect that I really do like, and that's not going to kill him, but, just from a production standpoint, it wasn't huge. The guy plays everywhere, versatile. You mentioned it, and I wrote it in my notes. Not a traditional tight end, but he plays everywhere. They'll drop him into the halfback mode, slot mode, tight mode. Sometimes they'll drop him into. I mean, he plays everywhere. So I love the versatility. That's very nice. With the right offensive coordinator, I really, really, really love this guy. Okay. Um, Not a lot of blocking tape, but when I see it, he seems willing. He's more or less getting the job done. So I do like the blocking. It's just not brilliant. And, they're not going to plug, they don't bring him in to block. That's not what he's in there for. He's in there to catch balls and move around in space, right? You mentioned that. So I've got a late first, early second round grade on him. A lot of that is based on attributes, though. It's not like I can point to large production. And that's why I mentioned, with the right offensive coordinator, if I was a head coach or GM, I would really want this guy on my team. I like what he seems to offer. I may change my mind on that in 25, but I really like what he seems to offer here. So I'm really high on Kenyon Sadiq. Shane, it is your turn, and then we'll hand it to Austin for the final word.
Well, Ben, to kind of hit off of both of you, I like Austin's term and the coining of it to be the slot end. He's certainly not a
Yeah.
traditional tight end. Uh, Both of you hit on the alley screens. That's where I see him being most dynamic, as Austin said, with the ball in his hands. He's a much better player. He looks even faster when he has the ball
Yeah.
than he does when he's running routes, as Austin mentioned with the deep ball. Um, the one thing that pops into my mind, and you kind of just hit on it there, Ben, is this is the guy that may way outproduce his college numbers, even his first season as a pro. I think of him kind of as like a Mark Andrews, where you see the athletic ability, you see the talent, but the offense that he played in, he only got like 20 passes his way. So if you get an offense that's more geared towards getting him the ball, I think he'll produce at a higher level. Um, Austin mentioned Kittle, his body frame, the way that Kenyon Sadiq plays, he'd be a godsend for San Francisco. The Rams would make a killing with him as well. Some of those offenses that can move people around. Washington, those ones that look for people that can maybe be a little bit undersized, but they do one job very specifically well. Um, as you guys also hit on, like I didn't see a lot of dominant blocking, but I didn't see somebody that's fearful of it. Um, I think he's better downfield blocker than he is at point of attack. He's not very small. At 245, you should be okay to get up on some of these ends that he's facing against. But I agree with what both you guys say. I think this could be a huge year for him. Oregon is 3-0 already. He's gotten the ball more this season than he has in the years past. I think his redshirt sophomore season was probably the best one he had. I think this year definitely can project him into that, I would say, late first round, because I think somebody's going to want to move to get him. He'll be one of those sleeper guys if he tests well, as we expect he will.
Shane, I like especially all the NFL teams that you mentioned, the coordinators that might be interested. And I don't remember if you mentioned Miami, but I think that would be another guy, the head coach McDaniel there, who would enjoy that kind of a
Uh,
player as well. Yeah.
The only reason I didn't, Ben, is I don't know if Miami will have the same coaching staff by the time it comes time to select. So,
Yeah, so let me not say Miami. Let me say wherever McDaniel ends up as the OC, because you're right. Austin, give us the final word on this prospect, man.
Yeah, so I like to find comps when they're available or jump out at me, and none did for him. I think he's a pretty unique guy in the sense of his play style and size. He's definitely not a traditional tight end, and you can look at that in one of two ways. And I feel like I've talked about this before. With the way the NFL linebacker situation is moving, with linebackers getting smaller and smaller, this type of player could become less effective as because he relies on more of his agility and speed when work. Like he's at that perfect tweener right now in college where he's way bigger than the corners. Just can absolutely dominate corners. But linebackers are not athletic enough to keep up with him. But as you get to the NFL, suddenly all those linebackers are world class athletes too. And as they're getting smaller and lighter, I think this could be one of those players who's just not going to necessarily fit because of his athletic profile, unless he is a lot faster than I think and is able to use his legs to kind of burn these backers. But you don't know till see him give it a try. I do think a team's going to probably take a shot on him in the early second is what I have now. He's definitely not, a Tyler Warren or a Colston Loveland. I think Tyler Warren is
Yeah.
somewhere in the general neighborhood, but like imagine Tyler Warren what 15 pounds lighter and 2 inches
mhm.
shorter.
Right.
Like he's just a smaller size of Tyler Warren, who did get used in multiple ways in the backfield, all that kind of stuff. I think Sadiq even threw a touchdown last year, if I remember that
Mhm.
I think
correctly.
he did.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I could see Warren, I guess, from a utilization standpoint in college, but very different athletic profiles. So I don't know how that would really hold up to the test.
That's Kenyon Sadiq, everybody from Oregon Pro Football Enterprises.